The offseason is a time of intense scrutiny, where every detail is analyzed as we shape our future. But can a single accidental word from a head coach truly reveal the state of a crucial roster competition? Recently, a slip of the tongue during a press conference sparked debate regarding our quarterback situation. While discussing how our young quarterback handles a newly arrived veteran, the coach used the word former before correcting himself, fueling speculation about who leads. What do you make of this scenario? Comment below. Let's analyze what this really means for our season. When Kevin O'Connell stepped to the podium following Thursday's OTA session, the Minnesota Vikings head coach likely expected to navigate a routine media availability, discussing the nuances of the installation process and the acclimation of new personnel. Yet, in the modern NFL, where every syllable is dissected, amplified, and scrutinized by millions, one single word, former, has ignited a wildfire of speculation regarding J.J. McCarthy's status within the organization. While discussing McCarthy's growth and integration, O'Connell caught himself mid-sentence, triggering a wave of intrigue that traveled from the practice fields of Egan all the way to the national morning shows. For those of us who spend our lives analyzing the subtle rhythms of coaching pressers, this moment is a fascinating case study in how a simple linguistic hiccup can encapsulate the complex, high-stakes transition currently unfolding for the Vikings at the quarterback position. The immediate reaction from the fan base and media pundits alike has been to interpret this as a Freudian slip. By referencing McCarthy as a former captain before correcting his course, O'Connell inadvertently opened a door that many were already standing in front of: the reality that the Vikings' quarterback hierarchy is undergoing a massive, perhaps definitive, shift. With the high-profile arrival of Kyler Murray, the franchise is navigating the delicate waters of managing a high draft pick investment against the immediate, tangible benefits of a proven veteran commodity. When a coach like O'Connell, who prides himself on precision and clear communication, stumbles over a title as loaded as captain, it is natural for the collective antenna of the Vikings faithful to rise. But is this truly a window into the depth chart, or are we assigning too much weight to a human moment under the heat of a camera lens? To understand why this is causing such a stir, we have to look at the broader context of the Vikings roster strategy this season. The coaching staff is tasked with a dual burden of competitive viability and developmental foresight. Kyler Murray brings a resume that commands immediate respect, offering a dual threat capability and experience in high-leverage situations that, on paper, should provide the Vikings a higher floor for the 2026 campaign. When you have a veteran of Murray's caliber, the dynamic of the locker room changes. Leadership is no longer a vacuum that a young prospect like McCarthy can simply inhabit by default. It is a role that is earned in the crucible of training camp and solidified by the confidence of the coaching staff. If the assumption is that Murray is the definitive starter, then the former slip-up by O'Connell isn't just a mistake. It's an internal acknowledgement of a power shift that everyone in the building is already aware of. Consider the implications for the locker room. NFL captains are chosen by their peers, not appointed by the head coach, which makes O'Connell's choice of words even more nuanced. Every player, by rule of the annual voting process, is technically a former captain until the ballots are cast again. But the psychological weight of the position remains constant. If the players see the coaching staff already treating the starting quarterback position as a closed book, the influence of a rookie or a sophomore leader can be muted. O'Connell is a tactician who understands that every word broadcast to his team carries weight. If he believes he revealed his hand, he knows the effect it has on the morale and the competitive drive of a quarterback who is supposed to be the future of this franchise. Are we looking at a coach who is genuinely preparing for a season of transition, or are we over-analyzing a fleeting moment of verbal fatigue? Taron Armstead's comments on Good Morning Football underscore the skepticism that persists throughout the league. When a seasoned veteran like Armstead suggests that words matter and that such a slip is not for nothing, he is echoing the sentiment of every person who has walked into a locker room. In the NFL, perception quickly hardens into reality. If the players, the media, and the fan base begin to view J.J. McCarthy as the backup who is being phased out of a leadership role, that narrative becomes a gravity well. It forces the organization to work harder to maintain the development of a player they invested heavily in. If the competition was truly wide open, would a head coach be so prone to associating a player who is fighting for his life for that QB1 spot with a former label? It creates an unnecessary psychological hurdle that O'Connell will now have to navigate during every single practice session leading up to the final roster cuts. This situation also shines a light on the broader philosophy of the Vikings front office. When you bring in a quarterback like Kyler Murray, You aren't doing it to keep the seat warm. You are doing it to win right now. This is a roster that feels it is closer to contending than rebuilding. Consequently, the patience for a developmental curve with a younger player like McCarthy becomes incredibly thin. If the Vikings' goals for this season are centered on immediate playoff contention, then the quarterback competition isn't just a battle for reps. It's a battle for the identity of the team. Does the franchise trust the steady, experienced hand of a veteran? Or are they willing to risk the inconsistencies that inevitably accompany a developing talent? The coaching staff is under immense pressure to make the right choice, as the fallout of a quarterback controversy can linger long after the final whistle of the regular season. We have to ask ourselves what the long-term cost of this dynamic is. If McCarthy is relegated to the sidelines, how does that impact his trajectory within the organization? Modern quarterbacks require rhythm, trust, and the repetition that only live game experience can provide. If he is being treated as the former man in charge, he is being removed from the developmental pathway that the franchise mapped out when they brought him into the building. The Vikings are at a pivotal juncture where the current season's aspirations are colliding with the long-term vision for the team's future. O'Connell is a brilliant offensive mind, and his success as a head coach is inextricably linked to how he manages this specific situation. If he manages it well, he's a genius who balanced the present and the future. If it fractures, he will be remembered for the moment the former slip became the catalyst for a lost season. There is also the matter of transparency. In the NFL, coaches are guarded for a reason. They know that every word is recorded and analyzed. O'Connell's immediate correction after the slip shows he was cognizant of what he said. He knows that in this league, the story isn't just about who starts, it's about the erosion of trust if a player feels like they are being undervalued or mischaracterized in the public sphere. The fact that the clip has reached nearly 2 million views is a testament to how ravenous this fan base is for clarity. They don't just want to watch the games, they want to understand the architecture of the team's decision-making process. They are looking for the why behind the what. This obsession with the minutia is not a bug, it's a feature of modern fandom. And O'Connell, as a leader, must recognize that he is playing a game of perception just as much as he is playing a game of X's and O's. Ultimately, we have to ground our expectations in the reality that it is early June. OTA practices are the laboratory of the NFL, a place where mistakes are made and dynamics are tested. The true test will come in August, when the pads go on and the games start to count for something more than just media headlines. We will see who commands the huddle, who resonates with the veterans, and who executes the offense with the poise required to win in the North. But the former comment will remain a touchstone for this entire story. If McCarthy does indeed end up on the sidelines, that slip will be cited as the moment the outcome was essentially leaked to the public. If he wins the job, it will be forgotten as a simple, inconsequential error. The consequence of this news cycle is that the pressure on the Vikings to be definitive with their quarterback situation has intensified tenfold. The ambiguity that now surrounds McCarthy's standing is not just a social media trend. It is a distraction that the team will have to actively mitigate. O'Connell needs to project clarity and confidence in his decision-making process to keep the locker room focused. As fans, we must remain observant, watching not just the stats or the highlights, but the body language and the internal communication of the team. The Vikings are a franchise that demands excellence, and the path to that excellence is never a straight line. Every word matters, every decision carries weight, and every moment on the field is a building block for the season ahead. As we continue to track this evolving story, it's clear that the identity of this team is still being forged. Will it be a team defined by the veteran presence of Murray, or will the young spark of McCarthy prove impossible to suppress? These are the questions that define our passion for this sport, and I intend to be right there with you as we unpack the answers. I will be keeping a close watch on the practice reports, the team dynamics, and every official word from the front office to see how this narrative unfolds. The complexity of the NFL is what makes us love it, but the stakes for our Vikings make it personal. I invite you to join me as we continue this journey through the 2026 season together. If you value this level of analytical depth and honest, grounded discussion, please make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and turn on those notifications. Your engagement is what drives this conversation, and I look forward to navigating the twists and turns of this pivotal year by your side.